Imagine the panic. It is night in an open field, and suddenly, two yellow eyes shine in the dark. A wolf. In milliseconds, the survival instinct ignites. The hired hand, the one paid by the hour, turns and runs to save his life, leaving the sheep behind. This isn't driven by malice, but by calculation. The sheep aren't his. To him, his own life is worth more than a dozen animals belonging to someone else. This is the mercenary's logic. We provide our effort and company only until the math of self-preservation no longer adds up. We carry this same transactional logic into our daily relationships and even our faith. We offer our time and presence as long as the terms remain favorable. We operate with an invisible contract in hand, loving others as long as there is a steady return on investment. When the wolf appears, perhaps a spouse becomes difficult or a community breaks our comfort, the flow of that contract snaps. As the cost of loving becomes a threat to our convenience, the ego reacts with the same panic as the man in the field. We flee because we feel our life is being stolen. This survival neurosis forces us to build walls. The ego creates perimeters and rules to ensure its own safety and predictability. In the early Jerusalem community, this tension boiled over when Peter broke tribal codes to eat with outsiders. His peers reacted with terror, demanding to know why he had crossed into the homes of the uncircumcised. To the community, those rules were the only things keeping their identity alive. They viewed any disruption of their borders as a wolf threatening the survival of their tribe. These protective perimeters provide a sense of security, but they also isolate us, turning every intruder into a threat to our purity. Christ enters this environment as the Good Shepherd, replacing the logic of survival with a different paradigm. He introduces a framework with no calculation and no invisible contracts. It is an environment of total availability. Love, in this context, functions by absorbing the pain of the moment. It stays present even when the cost of staying rises. The hired hand runs because he fears his life will be taken. The shepherd stays because he has already decided to give his life away. This changes the entire equation of a relationship. Hardship becomes the specific moment where a person decides to donate themselves rather than retreat. Spiritual freedom rests on the claim, "No one takes my life, I lay it down of my own accord." This shifts the definition of sacrifice. It is an act of sovereignty where the individual remains the author of their own delivery, even under pressure. Freedom is the power to embrace hardship on your own terms. By taking ownership of our sacrifices, we strip the world of its ability to rob us of anything. We can audit our own relationships by this standard. Are we loving as the hired hand or as the shepherd? This applies to the heavy moments, feeling buried by work, dealing with a difficult spouse, or sitting at a table with someone whose views challenge everything we believe. In those moments, we decide whether to retreat behind our ego's walls for the sake of comfort or to donate our life in that precise second. When we look the wolf in the eyes, we find that because we have chosen to love without measure, there is nothing left to lose. Life is never lost when it is donated freely. It is simply shared and renewed.